It's time for the year-end clearance sale at Primo Kia. Every vehicle in stock has been priced for immediate sale. They all come with Kia Motors' 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty and Primo Kia's checkbook of savings. This '09 Optima, loaded, just $15,997. Register now for the Primo Kia Club. Win prizes every month and a grand prize of a 2010 new Kia. Kia, the power to surprise. Primo Kia surprises every day. 4747 South Yale.
Cruise the nation's biggest stretch of Route 66 in Oklahoma. Visit travelok.com. Oklahoma, Native America.
AM 970 KCFO is the place to be every afternoon for the Dave Ramsey Show and the Dr. Laura program. Dave Ramsey from 1 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday.
They caused their own problem by lending people money that shouldn't have been lent money.
And then it's Dr. Laura, 4 to 6.
You're calling to get me to change her arguing, and I can't get you to change you.
Dave Ramsey and Dr. Laura, afternoons on AM 970 KCFO and online at kcfo.com.
Since 1996, Chef Michael Fusco has entertained guests with a delectable menu selection and a wonderful dining experience. Michael Fusco's Riverside Grill is his latest creation, welcoming guests for a truly flavorful menu selection where everything is cooked to order by the finest chefs. Winner of the Wine Spectator Award, Michael Fusco's Riverside Grill offers pages of complimentary and unique wine selections. Michael Fusco's Riverside Grill, 9912 Riverside Parkway, 394 Chef.
20-3, and now Becky Dixon with the winning coach.
Coach, your first victory here at Spartan Stadium. What pleases you most about this win?
I think the fact we did as a total team, offense, defense, kicking game all contributed. We lost our fullbacks, I said at halftime in the first series, but we did come back and we won. We find a way to win. It's not real pretty.
We're here for a super run, America's Race, a most unusual event, which we're going to be very pleased to be able to bring to you. Let's bring in Becky Dixon, who is at the finish line. Becky, we're glad to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Bob. And I think most of the runners behind me right now are just trying to contain their excitement. They're just trying to relax a little. But that's not easy to do when $500,000 is at stake. Remember, not one of these athletes has ever won a dime running. They all have other lives. Some are teachers, some businessmen, others are store clerks. Each of these runners has his or her own story to tell.
So then what happened to kind of give you that beckoning to make the leap to ABC? What kind of went from, Tulsa, although it was #1, like you said at the time, to ABC? It's a big jump.
Well, I think in life we're always evolving and reinventing ourselves. And I stayed in sports for a couple of years at KTUL. Then I became pregnant with my son, Dan. And so it really wasn't convenient to go out and cover sports at night when I was pregnant. So but I wanted to stay at Channel 8 and I wanted to stay in television. So they developed a show for me called Dayline. It was a midday news show. I did some news anchoring and news reporting as well, but I had my own. It was a talk show, and it primarily focused on working mothers, women, stay-at-home moms who were home watching TV. And we did a lot of family-oriented stories, children, women's issues. And I think that really, looking back, that experience really helped me in going to ABC because I did 30 minutes of live television a day that was all my own. Mm-hmm. And being at the network, you had to really be able to think on your feet and to be able to, to cover live events as they were unfolding.
Yeah. And another thing that I didn't really mention was prior to that, you were one of the first female sideline reporters at the big conference, or the Big Ten conference at the time. What was that like, kind of, then again, playing in a man's world on the sidelines?
Well, when I left Channel 8, I really wanted to focus. I had a 1-year-old child, and then I had Jennifer, my daughter, who was about 7 at the time. I really wanted to take some time off and focus on my family because I felt like I was torn and doing doing too many things at once and not doing a good job, or as good a job as I wanted it at either thing. So I left Channel 8 and I did freelance work for a year, and again in sports. I worked for lots of different networks, some local, some some national networks, and continued to just travel some on the weekends when my husband was home to watch the kids. But so that afforded me the ability to really focus on my family and my career, and I really liked that. So at the time, again, I looked at the niche, what niche was open, and there weren't many women at the networks in sports broadcasting. Phyllis George, who had been a Miss America, was doing a football show, but there really weren't any women broadcasters doing sports who had experience on the local level like I did. There were some, but not many. So an agent actually contacted me. She had seen me do the sideline reporting for the Senior Bowl on a cable network, and she said, I think, I can get an interview for you at the networks, at one of the networks. And so it ended up I had an interview at all three networks. I put together an audition tape from some of my work at Channel 8 and some of my freelance work, and I ended up interviewing with the presidents of all three sports networks, and ABC just seemed to be a really good fit because of Wide World of Sports, and they focused a lot on, again, women's sports, with figure skating, gymnastics, those kinds of things. And then as far as the sideline football reporting, I actually started doing some of that for Tulsa, which was then Tulsa Cable here, and covered the University of Tulsa, so I had experience. But yes, I think I was probably the first sideline reporter. There might have been one other who worked just a few years before me, but just for a short time. But I loved football. Growing up in Oklahoma, you can't not love football. I love football, so that was one of my most fun assignments. That year that I did Big Ten football, we had Big Ten and Pac-10. Those were the only two conferences that ABC had, and I ended up spending most of the time in the Big Ten. But I got to work with Bob Greasy, Dick Vermeil, Keith Jackson, Lynn Swan. It was a really nice experience.
And working with Frank Gifford, what was that like?
The first thing Frank did, he and Kathy Lee had just gotten married. And so the first thing Frank said to me is, Kathy Lee is not going to like you, and she's not going to like you working with me. So I want to take the two of you to lunch, and I'll buy you a bottle of wine so you can get to know each other. But I loved working with Frank. And Kathy Lee was great too, once she realized that I was, not interested in Frank.
And so who did you start with first on the Oklahomans?
We started with Troy Aikman. He had just been at the Cowboys for a couple of years. So we started with Troy and Ben Johnson, who was an actor, and he is the only person to ever win a rodeo world championship as well as an Academy Award. For the Last Picture Show, only in Oklahoma. And then also, David Walters had just been elected governor, so we decided to interview Mrs. Walters. And so those were the three that we started with.
So with regards to just the family and the work, kind of what's your advice for women that are looking ahead to their dreams?
It's a juggling act, and you just have to work really hard to keep all of the balls in the air, because for most working women, there is a family involved, there are children, there are the children's school responsibilities and their school activities. There's a career, there might be travel involved, and it's really pretty much of a juggling act. And as long as you keep all the balls in the air, you'll be okay. It's just that gets really difficult sometimes, and it's a challenge. I think as far as pursuing and developing a career, I would say determine what your goals are. Set those goals and then do whatever you can to achieve them. I'm a firm believer that you can do almost anything you want to do. You just have to want to do it badly enough. I have always told my children they could do whatever they wanted to do, and then today I laugh and I say, well, I just didn't know you were going to want it to do so much.
Yeah. Next, you'll meet two women who are making a name for themselves across the country. Shannon Wilburn and Devin Tackett started Just Between Friends Sale in 1997. Today, they have sold 95 franchises across the country, and they aren't stopping anytime soon.